Hello, everybody. This is Vivian Xavier for another edition of GIFF Talks 2021. Today, we're joined by a very prominent cinematographer in Pakistan. He's known for his aesthetics and his efficiency. Everybody knows him as Mo Azmi. And without further ado, because I know that he's pressed for time, we're just gonna start a conversation. So, hey Mo, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you're busy with prep for a new shoot, but thank you for taking the time to join us. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. Really excited for this.
Thank you for having me, man. It was an honor, honestly.
Thanks. I'm just going to jump into your history with shooting commercials because I know that you've shot a buttload of those. So how did you what was your first experience? How did you get into it? And from then to now, what has been your evolution as a cinematographer for television commercials?
So I done. I was in LA in right after film school in New York. So over there, I started doing like just being a grip and camera team and stuff like that on commercials. So I was just kind of familiar with how it's run and how it's kind of efficiently run. And I ED'd, I did wardrobe, I did every department under the sun for like 2 or so years over there. When I moved to Pakistan, I it's always luck, isn't it? So I just happened to meet some people at a party, like you were saying earlier, like networking. But it wasn't
Yeah.
conscious networking. It was just like I was just there drinking, and somebody asked like, "What do you do?" And then I showed them something that I did. I showed them my shori, and they're like, "Hey, we're shooting something this next weekend. Would you like to help us?" And it just kind of went on from there. And I did I kind of did this film called 021. It was an action film, so that was one of the first things I did over here. One of the first bigger things, and the producer, one of the producers of that film, was his name is Jami. He's a prominent director in Pakistan. So he watched the rushes, and then he invited me to his office somewhere in the middle of the shoot, and I went over. I was very curious. I was like, "Why is this person inviting me?" And he sat me down, and he's like, "You shot this?" And I was like, "Some large, like something in a warehouse. It's all lit." And so I was like, "You shot this? How do you know how to shoot this?" And I was like, I was very young at the time. I didn't know how to answer that. I was like 23 or something. I was like, I don't know. I watch a lot of movies. And that's kind of the truth of it. I was like, I watch a lot of movies. I've screenshotted a lot of interior large factory scenes and watched, Born Identity, there's that, whatever else, and I just tried to recreate it in my whatever
Mm.
way. He's like, "Okay, cool. Are you available next month?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." So we did a big old commercial shoot, and it was very fun. It was like a chase scene through Karachi and
I
stuff.
remember that.
Yeah, that was like my first commercial over here, and it was very fun because I also learned, like, it was my first time working very properly with a lot of cameras, because Jami likes to work with multiple units, and so that was actually very good training when I think back to it, because we were working with, like, there was a red camera unit, another red camera unit, an Alexa unit, a drone unit or something, and then a DSLR and a GoPro, like wherever we could find, So it was a cool experience working and communicating with everybody. I didn't speak Urdu very well at the time. I still don't very well, but it was really bad then. And but it was good. It was a good, like, training ground. And as for commercials after that, I did ads for the next 5 years. I'm still doing ads every now and then, but I did ads very heavy, like you said, butt load. It definitely feels like a butt load. It butt hurt after a couple of but it was very healthy to an extent, because commercials are a good training ground. I think for any DP, like, it's doing push-ups. Like, if the film or a larger project is a marathon, commercials are like training there at the gym. Like it's like
Mm,
hardcore with someone going like, yeah, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta stay on time, and we gotta learn how to work and communicate with 100, 200, 300 people, and do it efficiently, do it on time, and also try to make it look good. And how do you put all these resources into one image? That's invaluable training for me. It was like, how do you take all this weaponry and kind of aim it at this one image and try to get this one moment right? And it's cool because Pakistan has a lot of good commercial directors. I work with a buttload of them, like 40, 50 of these people, and they're all very, very talented in their own little ways. And each of them kind of, I would learn something new.
mm,
Every director has their own thing. Every director has their own style, and so that's not just in narrative. I think that's with commercials as well, because they all have a background as well. They're coming from music videos. They're coming from narrative. They're coming from an agency. Somebody's left engineering as like now a big commercial director. So they're approaching, each one of them is approaching them in a very different way. So it's cool. It
mm.
was good.
So, what do you think has been your strength from when you started off to now? Because obviously there has been some sort of evolution. What do you think? Because from all the people I've spoken to, they always mark your efficiency and your quickness as a huge strength. I don't know if you see that, or is there something else that you identify?
Yeah, I mean, if efficiency, I think, I don't know where that comes from. Maybe impatience. It's a fault, but I mean, I don't like waiting very long for things to happen. Um, I get very impatient on set, but um, yeah, I mean, its biggest strength. I don't know. I would think that watching, the best thing that ever happened in my life was like my sisters, having four other sisters, and each of them having different taste in films. So when I was a teenager, I was just like, I'm watching this, and I'm watching one of my sisters getting to Bergman at that time, and my other sister's getting to something else. And so it was nice. It's like when I think back to it, it was like nice, the intellectual, but sometimes not at all, because sometimes it's just action films. And so it
Mm.
was a plethora of different films, and then I kind of got into it, and I also was a big voracious reader, and so I really liked stories, and I got into my Hemingways and this and that, and Kerouacs, and a big reader when I was young. Uh, so the, absorbing stories, and that was kind of a big thing for me, and trying to understand how it works. And then film school was good for that as well, like breaking things down structurally very quickly. Like it was like, okay, this is the story. So now that works in a commercial, and that works in a 10 episode thing. Is like, okay, this is the story that the director wants to tell. How do you break it down? How do you structure it? What is the beginning, middle, and end? And then within a scene, within a shot, is there a beginning, middle, and end? And so
Mm.
just doing the mental gymnastics of that, and kind of breaking it down in a way that you can visually tell that story, and have those things clearly communicated to an audience. Um, that part, I'm realizing now as I'm saying it, might be a strength.
Well, yeah, yeah. It made me realize something while you were saying it as well, but I'll come to that later on. You've shot commercials, you've done narrative work, you've done music videos, so there's quite a lot that um, you've had your hand in. What other differences do you see, like from the commercials to narrative and music videos? Um, because
Hmm.
like the 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 aesthetics are obviously there, but there's some differences here and there. And how do you approach them? What because it's they're different formats altogether. So how do you approach them?
Um, I mean, the important thing for me is to just always keep in mind. I'm like, okay, nothing you're doing is particularly going to be earth shattering. So because it's every kind of music. I mean, Mark Romanek and Spike Jones and these guys have made every cool music video ever made. And whatever you do now is like, okay, well, what can we possibly do? And so it's also like knowing what has come before, and making peace with that, and then going like, okay, now how do I digest those things, and then now what does this director or what does this artist want to say, and then having these tools and then kind of seeing those things as tools, like, where can you take these things to. And so I think every different format that you mentioned has its own thing. Like, for me, music videos are very experimental. They're where I like to be experimental and like to take bolder choices with directors, because and directors are always open, because artists are always open, and it's rhythmic. It's a feeling, it's a texture. It's not strictly narrative based. Even as narrative based directors are always more open to, going a bit more experimental with the visuals and a bit more abstract. So that's a good medium to do that. Short films for me are like, as I've been shooting short films every year, and I tried doing a lot of student films every now and then as well, because they always just give they always have, it's a citizen Kane thing, right? It's like when he doesn't know anything, there are no rules, so
Mm.
he'll just do whatever he wants. So like for me, it's like working with students is amazing, because they'll always have these strange ideas which I would have never approached, or I would have never thought to do a scene that way. So short films are great for that, where you just have one theme, one moment, one thing you want to say. It's usually like a sentence that you can kind of pick, or it's usually a word, and you just chip away at that. Films are a, a beast of their own, because films are kind of the only thing from all of these things, including series and whatever else, where you're like, you're asking the audience to shut everything else off and hone in on this and come with you on a journey. And that is a very respectable art form, I think, because more so than series for sure. Because I think in a show, like how I experience shows, it's like we're watching and we're eating, and every now and then we check a phone or we pause and do something.
Mm.
So but with film, it's demanding. It's a very demanding format. And so what's nice about that is that you can, and the screen is vast, so you can have something going on over here, and then something going on, on another corner at the same time. And those is really, and those things can communicate emotionally, and simultaneously they can communicate information in ways that you cannot do in any other medium. um, and series are very fun to me. I only recently started doing series. I've done two so far, and I'm working on a third now. Um, so series are great because you're, at least in Pakistan, you can say things and you can talk about things that you can't anywhere else in this godforsaken, constricted country. So it's like you have all these cultural restraints, these shackles that have been put in place systematically since the 70s. And now, finally, art in this country is getting around to a place where this newer, younger generation who's been kind of struck by the lightning bolt of the internet has been very, very liberated, and are finally kind of coming around to conversations and taboos which were never discussed in their families before. And so series to me is a lovely place to have these discussions and have these um, ideas and kind of play them out in these whatever plays, um, and do things that you can't. I'm talking particularly about web series.
Mhm. So, jumping off from that question, you've shot a web series with Asim Abbasi, and you shot Cake with him as well. But obviously, your relationship goes prior to that with the short film. So,
Yeah.
how did can you talk a little bit about that relationship? How did you guys meet up, and how has that relationship evolved? Because you guys have known each other for a bit, and you've worked together for a bit. So, that obviously helps the director DP relationship. And what's the most important thing for you when you're looking at a director, when you want to work with them?
Oh, I mean, with Asim's also very just a special person. I think one of the things that one of the first times that we met, we both realized that we both are the youngest in the family, with four elder sisters. And so that was just a weird freak coincidence. And I think after that, I was like, okay, cool. I think he was also like, okay, we understand each other
Yeah.
on a different frequency, because you've had those experiences. You've been the younger one. all these demanding personalities around you growing up. Um, so I think that got made us able to understand each other very well on a weird level. So we worked on a short film. I think he found me a bit randomly through some people who recommended me. And then when we worked on Cake, I think that was a big part of it. I think it was like about family dynamics, and then both of us kind of discussing. I mean, before we start any shoot, and this goes for any director that I like working with. For me, it's important. Like, can you break bread with them? Can you be bonded in a way, because you're going to go on an experience, and if you aren't bonded, and
Mm,
if you are very technical and you're like yes sir and da da da, that experience is never
mm,
is going to be so cold. And I don't know, I that's not how I can work. That's just not how I function. So for
mm.
me it's
Also,
important, like,
yeah.
no, sorry.
I don't know. I was just going to say that with whether it's a web series or or the feature, I'm sure like you spend so much time with that person, you want to be able to like that person, just as a
Yeah,
human
it's so
being.
I think humor is a big part of that. Like, can you have a laugh together, because you're gonna be in such serious excruciating circumstances sometimes, that you need to be able to understand each other and just release, but of course all of that comes after you've had some breakthrough with the work itself. And so for us, like, cake was a good breeding ground for that, because it was like both of us kind of putting in all, we didn't talk about visuals for a while. He came in for, like, we started our shortlisting sessions, and I was like, I told him first day, I'm like, dude, I need at least a couple of weeks of your time of just talking about family and what it meant to you, and I'll explain what my family meant to me. And so that's how we started, and it was a very good foot to start on, because then when we start shortlisting, I was like, it's like, okay, this character walks in and sees their father. I'm like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, because I know about his relationship with his father. I know about his relationship with his siblings. And of course, it's all completely different, but you
Mm,
understand where it's coming from in a person. Why is the writer writing what
yeah,
they're writing? And then what can I
exactly.
add? What do I have to say? Why am I doing this film? What do I have to add to this? And then what I have to add to it is my own experiences. And how do I feel do I feel small? Do I feel big in that situation? So all these things it becomes very easy to visualize and shortlist and light when you know why you're visualizing and lighting and what you're trying to do in a scene. So that all flies
Mm,
by very quickly when you've had that kind of work earlier. And then with Trails, it was like, I don't know, to me, it was like those four leads are my four sisters. It's just how that was one of my favorite things I read about Sam Mendes. Like, he's like, a director or any filmmaker just has to have a secret of their own in any project that they do. That they just, it's for them, it's their way into a story. I was like, okay, that's a really nice way to approach something. And
mm,
so for me, like, Trails was just like, okay, what if my sisters lived over here, and they were all under a pressure cooker, and this is how they would explode. It would kind of explode into the 10 episodes of Trails. And so that's what it was for me, and I think that's what it was for Asim as well. We both channeled whatever that feminine masculine energy into whatever that show was. um, so yeah, it becomes very personal very quick.
mm. So, let's talk about Tyrell for a bit, and in terms of because it's obviously for the ODT platform. How was that different from Cake? And because was that your first web series? You know,
Yeah, it was
what
it was
what
very
what was the learning curve over there?
it was huge. I think I was also producing it at the time. I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea, but I did at the time. So it was a lot of learnings packed into 1 year. But the biggest thing was like was structure. Is like, how do you take a visual idea or even a story concept or something, and how you track it over 10 episodes, because that's not a thing I was familiar with. Like, I'd done 4 films at that point, and for me it was like, okay, you've the audience is kind of there with you for 2 hours, and they've given their time and money and attention, and you have them for 2 hours. That's not what a that's not how a series is watched. You can't predict if someone's going to stop halfway through episode 3 and continue a week later. So how do you track which arcs are going to finish where, and then also what visual ideas are you putting in, because we want it to be so crazy and flowery with our visuals, but we're like, okay, can we be consistent? If you're throwing something in over here, will it look very silly by the time we're in episode 5 and 6? Um, so it's also about just trying to build and track and understand how to track a story and how to track visuals over 10 episodes. That's a very, very tough thing to do. And for me, a big part of it is like, okay, I'm controlling the visuals, but it's important to understand all these other departments, because if you're doing something and someone else is playing something else wrong, if you're in a band and it's they're going that way, you're going this way, by episode 9 you both are going to be in totally
Mm.
different places. So it's also about really, really aligning yourself with every department to make sure that everyone is on track together. um, so that was a big learning, and trying to understand that, and also just trying to understand finances of how to do a 10 episode thing. We're so I was so used to doing 4 episodes, 4 pages a day, that 7 8 pages a day just destroyed me. I was a
Mm.
wreck every day because we plan these really intricate movements and blocking, and a character comes over here and they say this line, and then they cut over here, and then there's a cringe, ridiculous ideas for a series. So that was also learning, is like, you can't pack too much in. You have to
Mm.
learn to
And so
understand.
I want to pick on the thing about consistency. How do you stay consistent? What's your secret sauce?
Oh, lots of prep. Lots and lots of prep. So for these last 2 series that I did, the one I did now and the one I did with Minu Farjad, the that which hasn't come out yet, I was like, I need at least 2 3 4 months of just prepping with the director of all these ideas and these visual ideas that we have, and these story ideas that the director wants to communicate, and just making sure they're followed through. So it's a lot. I get index cards. That's always a big thing for me. I mind map a lot, which is just like write something down in a circle and then just make diagrams around it. So it's my office just kind of looks like a crazy room because like one wall is just images printed of like, okay, what colors am I responding to today? Like we shot this scene and I'll just look at it and be like, I don't see red in this at all. So that becomes important, because if I don't see red in it, then I need to either communicate that, or I need to understand why a production designer or a wardrobe stylist or the director does see red. So these discussions have to happen, because then you can't be on set and thinking one thing and somebody else thinks one thing and you're having this debate on set. So it's about just working through all these things very slowly and step by step, and just kind of, that was always the Gordon Willis theory of like
That's
one brick
that's
at
what I
a
was
time.
thinking.
Yeah, brick, lay that first brick, and that's with scenes as well. Scene building is, for me, is just like, okay, this is a 3-page scene. Okay, fine, it needs to be 10 shots. It's like, no, it doesn't. It can be 30 shots or it can be one shot. It depends on the scene, and so just trying to understand that a bit more, of like, you put a brick and then you're like, okay, do we need another brick? And then having that discussion with everybody, and especially the director, of going like, do we need that other brick? Okay, fine, we put the second brick. Okay, fine, now do we need that third brick? And then approaching it a bit slowly and less haphazardly.
Um, my one of my last questions is going to be the oneer in cake. I think that that was something that was talked about quite a bit when the movie came out, and I remember watching it in the cinema, and I was like, "Damn, that's like, how did he do that?" And so, if how what was that something that how did you and Asim come to that realization that you wanted to do it? Why did you want to do it just for that scene? And how did you go about achieving that? Because I've spoken to your gaffer, Nadeem Multani, and he told me that it was quite a crazy experience, but it was a fun one because I think it was something that he relished doing as well with you.
Yeah, man. 12, 10, 12 minutes is no joke. We learned after that. It's very easy to write on paper. um, but that's a wonderful thing about Asim, man. Is like, he writes something, and then when he's directing or when he goes into prep, it's like, he directed Cake like somebody else had written it. He removes the writer out of it. So if the writer says that this needs to be a oneer, then it needs to be a oneer, because and he trusts his instinct of doing that, which is a good learning for me as well. It's like, okay, when you're in your senses months earlier, and you're not in the haphazard like crazy office with everybody working around you and all that energy, where things are said and then you can take an idea, latch onto it, and move on. But when you are in your senses, you're alone, and you've had writing time for 3 months, you've really thought things through, and you're surrounded by books, and you're in a different mindset. And that idea came from a very sensitive, vulnerable, and important place. So you have to respect when you wrote that idea. So that I learned from Asim big time, and he's very good at doing that. And he'll so when it's on, when we're getting in prep, and I was like, "Are you sure we want to do this in a one?" I'm like, "We still have a chance to back out." he's, he's like, "No, man. If I wrote it, it's there. We have to do it then." And so, and it was important, and I understood, and I spoke to him about it. There was like a whole day where, again, we were supposed to shortlist, but I just had questions. I'm a big like, okay, but why? And so once I understood why, and I understood his logic behind it, and he's very good at explaining his logic, that also helps. And that communication helps. And when I understood why it has to be a winner, then it was like, okay, we're on. I get it. I understand why this has to be the way it has to be. And then I need to communicate that. That knowledge can't just end with me. It needs to be communicated to 100 people now. And so trying to make basically 100 people understand like why this needs to be what it is, and then working towards, once everyone has a why in their head, then answers kind of questions kind of get answered by themselves. uh, that's always been a good rule of thumb for me. So when I explained to Nadeem Bhai, my gaffer, I'm like, this is why it has to be a winner, and you just have to be with me. And he understood why it has to be a winner, and then we were with each other then. And so prepping it, man, was like, I have a, I'm sure I can say, I wish I prepped it better, but I have a board of screenshots of like, okay, this character moves over here for this line, this camera goes from here. So we planned everything out very intricately for a couple of days. The camera moves from here. Da, da, da. I did all my lighting beforehand on overheads, which I did for every scene in Cake, and for everything I do. Everything is in top down. Like, this person moves from here to there, da, 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 because I forget these things very easily. Like, we can say these things in a shot list or write it on paper. Then I'll be like on set, I'm like, where did we say? Was it that corner? Was it this corner? So just prepping the shit out of it on an overhead, and then breaking down, okay, what are the different moments, and which space do they need to be in? Because spaces make a big difference. When a conversation is happening outside at night, I was very in with people around, it's a very different thing. And then one character kind of leads that conversation inside, and then the other characters follow. Who are you following? Are you following the character who's leading? Or are you following the characters who are left behind? These decisions, and kind of talking through them with Asim, and both of us kind of figuring these things out. And then also the blocking of it, and then watching a lot of things. I watched a lot of stage plays, because they do very interesting blocking. And so for me, stage is a very good place to understand how people move, and like somebody moves really close to camera, and then somebody's over here, and like, okay, when are filmmakers making these decisions? Again, like I said, everything's been done very, very well already. We have 100 years of cinema to learn from, and 100 years of like recorded plays and blocking that exists in a lot of things. So just learning from that, and going like, okay, where do these people need to move, and according to where they move, where should the camera be, and what should the lighting be like? And one person steps into darkness, and then the power shuts down, and then why does the power shut down, and how long should it shut down for, and how are we viewing that? Which side of the line are we from, and who should we be sympathizing with at this moment? And so a lot of these things. And then on the day, it was just prepping. I think we prepped for one entire rehearsal day, where it was just the Steadicam operator with a phone and all the actors, and then we shot it over 2 days. which wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen for one day, and then at the end of the day, we were like, we watched the takes and we were not sure, and then we begged and pleaded to the crew. We're like, do you all mind doing another day of this? Um, so we added one more shoot day from our very precious resources, and decided to do it all over again because we were just so unsure. It's such a bold, ridiculous thing to put at the end of a film and have your entire climax. That after doing all these things so carefully and putting everybody's energy and efforts into it, we were, if you're not sure about it then on set, then there's no going back. There's no like, okay, the editor will
Mm.
find rescue us from this. Ain't no editor rescuing you from one take. But what was nice is that I had training before that. So I'd done a lot of oneers in music videos and short films and things like that before then. So Austin was very comfortable with me handling that part of it, because I think for a DP it's a bit excruciating because you have to answer so many things because there's a sofa in the way, and it's just all these like technicalities of things, and you have to
Mm.
have quick solutions. So and that's where the stage play part of it, like stage hands, comes into play. So I was like, all our team is gonna wear black. In case they come at the edge of frame or something like that, they're all gonna be dressed in black, and all the grips are gonna wear black. And we're gonna be pulling sofas, and we're gonna be doing this, and we're gonna be putting reflectors in and out. And if you show up in a reflection on a frame in the background, that's a problem. So you can't. No one can be that one mistake that fucks up a 12-minute thing.
Mm.
So really putting that in everybody's head and putting that in my head as well. Um, so yeah, does that answer anything? Sorry.
No, that answers everything. That answers everything. But yeah, um, so yeah, Mo, this, I mean, I could, talk about cinema with you and cinematography with you for hours, but I know that you're pressed for time as well. You need to, get back to work, and I do appreciate you taking the time in your busy schedule to talk to me and talk to talk to the people who are going to be watching this on the GIF platform. Um, but I know that everybody in Pakistan who is related to the film industry knows your name. But for the people outside, where can they see your work? Do you have like an Instagram account or a website, or some place where people can see the magic that you're
I,
used to making?
I'm very bad at keeping up with the stuff, honestly. But you can just Google my name, Moazmi, and you'll find everything. I think I do have an Instagram handle. That's also just, you can write Moazmi and you'll find it. Azmi CS, and uh, but I don't update it very often. It's not a. I need to be better at this. I think most DPs I
Well,
ask are very bad at this part.
well,
We don't
well. I
have
mean,
time.
the way I look at it is that if you're busy, shooting stuff, you just don't have the time to update it. So that's a good thing.
I hope that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, I see it as a good thing. But again, thank you so much, Mo, for taking the time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we'll be
Can
able
I
to
just say
do this.
thank you for having me, and you're such a wonderful host, and it's so special what you're doing. These things are not easy to do. So and it's so great that you're having people from Pakistan come and be able to discuss Pakistani cinema, which is at its infancy, and whatever this Pakistani new wave it is, because it is a bunch of filmmakers just trying different things. So it's
Yeah,
wonderful that you're turning attention to that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
thank you, thank you. But yeah, I look forward to the new web series that you're going to be shooting in about a month now. Yeah, well, that
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be able to catch that one. Where can people catch that though?
So Trails, and then this last one that I just did is called Katilisina, and then this next one, they're all on Z5,
Okay,
which is like an Indian streaming platform equivalent of whatever Netflix types. Yeah.
perfect. Well, for all the people who are watching this, get your subscription to Z5 and watch Mo's work, and because yeah, you will be entertained, and you'll see some really good stuff out there. I can certainly assure you of that. Mo, thank you so much. Good luck with the shoot. Safe travels,
Thank you,
and
bro.
hopefully one day we will be able to have this chat in person and not
Yeah.
over the computer. But thank you so much, and peace out.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
welcome. Bye.